Thank you for inviting me to share with you some of the preliminary data emerging from the structural review evaluation. My name is Betty Priest. My colleagues at Credence and I have been working hard sorting through the data from the survey that we launched several months ago regarding the impact of the structural change at the United Church of Canada. Today's purpose is simply to provide you with a brief taste of the feedback that we received and to note several key trends that are visible from the data. You'll be receiving a fuller data set later. I also want to thank all of you who participated in the survey. Your voice matters, and your responses helped us to create a more robust understanding of the impact of the structural change. In terms of reading survey results, surveys are a form of storytelling. All surveys tell a story, or you could say all surveys tell multiple stories. This is also true for the United Church of Canada. As I go through these slides, I invite you to listen for the story that's being told by the data. Of course, the next chapters in this story are not yet written. In a way, one could say that the data that we're reviewing today invites you to think about what you want the next chapters in the United Church story to say. A word about Likert scale surveys. The survey that we provide to the United Church of Canada was a quantitative survey, not a qualitative survey. This means that we asked you to respond to a continuum of statements, or a continuum that allowed you to go from strongly agree or to strongly disagree, rather than asking you paragraph answer questions. I want to say that it's always more satisfying to answer a paragraph answer question. The reason the survey did not offer paragraph answer questions was simply because this would have been cost prohibitive to review and sort feedback from almost 2,000 survey participants. Quantitative surveys do make it easier to compare answers, especially between different groups, which provides the United Church of Canada with specific results, let's say between regions or between retired or active personnel and so forth. Some of you wondered why the statements that people were asked to respond to in the survey were stated positively. Positively stated statements are not intended to suggest bias. Participants can and did choose disagree or strongly disagree when this fit their experience. Likert scale questions are typically written as positive statements because this allows for a more consistent Likert scale underneath those statements, which allows us to compare responses more easily. In terms of the participation data, we sent out 6,000 survey letters and received 1,880 responses for a response rate in general of 31%. Breaking that down, 1,906 communities of faith or pastoral charges received a letter. We received 629 responses from this group for a response rate of 33%, reflecting communities of faith across all regional councils. We sent surveys to 3,494 ministry personnel. We received 1,158 responses from ministry personnel for a response rate of 33.1%, reflecting ministry personnel across all regional councils. We also sent letters to 162 staff, receiving 93 responses from staff for a response rate of 57.4%, reflecting staff who worked with regional council, general council, OV, and deployed general council staff. A response rate of 30% or more is considered effective for online surveys. And now to the data. What you will see is that there is a slide describing an insight and then a graph or two to reflect that insight. So for example, one of the insights in the survey is that generally there's a strong understanding across the United Church of the new structure. I or we understand the three council model. You will see in this graph that all three of our data groups, ministry personnel, communities of faith, and staff, report a solid understanding of the three council model. Ministry personnel are marked in red, communities of faith are marked in green, and staff are marked in blue. We also asked whether respondents understood the OV model and the funding model. These graphs also show a relatively strong understanding of the OV and the funding models. Another survey insight. Some regional councils have more resources than others, impacting the experience of both communities of faith and ministry personnel. Our regional council helps my community of faith to flourish. You will see here that there's a high degree of variance in this answer. I'm going to ask you to look only at the green columns for a moment. A solid number of communities of faith agree with this statement, but an even greater number either disagree or strongly disagree. Why is this the case? When we sort the data by region, we see that some regions had many more communities of faith agreeing with this statement, while other regions had many more communities of faith disagreeing with this statement. In general, it appears that those regions that have more staff or more financial resources rate more positively on this statement than those who don't. Now I'm going to ask you to look at the red column. More ministry personnel are in the category of disagree or strongly disagree on this graph. And of course, there is a solid number who is neutral on this question. Nonetheless, there is a consistent theme emerging across the survey data. This theme is that ministry personnel across the United Church of Canada are not feeling the support or the belonging that they would value in order for them to be able to thrive in their roles. Another survey insight. There are mixed reviews regarding the structure overall, especially with respect to their impact on communities of faith and ministry personnel. The three-council model allows ministry personnel to focus more fully on their ministry. One of the goals of the structure change was to free ministers to focus more fully on their ministry. If you look at just the red column for a moment, which reflects the answers from ministry personnel, you will see that the numbers of disagrees and strongly disagrees is quite high, with a strong count also in the neither agree nor disagree section. The green column, reflecting communities of faith, suggests that communities of faith have more confidence in their ministry personnel being freed from ministry than the ministry personnel themselves are experiencing. The three-council model has made the United Church of Canada more effective in decision-making. This graph is important, though it takes a few moments to see what's going on. Staff, marked in blue, are really all over the map on this one. The more staff have confidence in decision-making at the United Church of Canada than either communities of faith or ministry personnel. Communities of faith, marked in green, have high numbers in the neither agree nor disagree section or in the do not know section. But ministry personnel, marked in red, have a very high reading in the disagree or strongly disagree category. Anecdotally, we have heard ministry personnel say that they feel at least, that they no longer have the voice that they once had. This graph reveals this feeling. Another survey insight, there has been a weakening of belonging and connection in the new structure of the United Church of Canada. My or our sense of belonging to the United Church of Canada has increased because of the three-council model. This is one of the most important slides in the whole deck. Ministry personnel, communities of faith, and staff all see belonging and connection being weakened in the three-council model. While staff, who are marked in blue, also have a high showing in the category of neither agree nor disagree, the number of communities of faith, and especially the number of ministry personnel who disagree or strongly disagree that the model has created belonging, is such a significant data point. Staying with the same statement, my sense of belonging to the United Church of Canada has increased because of the three-council model. We sorted ministry personnel responses by retired and active to see whether employment made a difference for this statement. Not in a major way. Both active and retired ministry personnel do not feel a sense of belonging to the United Church of Canada in the three-council model. We also, staying with the same statement, wondered whether belonging to a cluster would make a difference to people's experience of belonging. One of the hopes that the United Church of Canada had was that belonging to clusters or networks to an association would help ministry personnel with a sense of belonging in the United Church of Canada. 32% of ministry personnel reported to us that they are part of a cluster. Nonetheless, belonging to a cluster has not measurably increased a sense of belonging among ministry personnel. We also asked or made a statement, I or we feel connected and engaged with the work of the General Council and the General Council Executive. While we see some agrees for this statement, the number of disagrees here is quite high for both communities of faith and ministry personnel. Survey insight. There are mixed reviews regarding the United Church's vision, purpose, and goals. The statement here, the United Church of Canada's organizational structure changes have enhanced the United Church's capacity for bold discipleship, deep spirituality, and daring justice. These are the United Church's strategic goals. This data set suggests that across the board, respondents either don't know or do not see an impact of the structure on the United Church of Canada's strategic goals. That said, if you look only at the red line, you will see a greater sense of discouragement among ministry personnel regarding the structure's impact on the United Church of Canada's strategic goals. The organizational structure changes have helped the United Church honor and live into the United Church commitment to anti-racism, diversity, and intercultural ministry. This is generally a positive slide. While the number of people who do not know is relatively high, it is also true that the number of people who agree with his statement or who are in the category of neither agree nor disagree is also quite high. I feel hopeful about the future of the United Church of Canada under the new organizational structure. This was the last question we asked. While few people strongly disagree with this statement, and while many neither agree nor disagree with this statement, there is a strong agree response from both communities of faith and staff. The word of caution on this slide comes from ministry personnel, the red columns, where the number of disagrees and strongly disagrees is relatively high. By way of closing, I'd like to make just a few remarks. There's important learning for the United Church of Canada in the data that I've showed you today and in the remaining charts that we do not have time to look at today. The data raises important questions that the United Church will want to explore further. In part, this opportunity to explore further will come in the focus groups that we are planning for the fall of 2025. Thank you for your time and for your engagement in our conversation today.